So I've been doing quite a lot of building lately. I don't really know what's got into me. Uh, Please, someone send help. I've been doing a lot of building and I've been really enjoying it. I've been taking a bit of a break from redstone. Um, and I've been working on a project with my sister and a friend of mine. And it's been going extremely well. And I found myself getting hyper fixated on making builds, which is something that hasn't happened for probably years. Uh, it's it's really a wonderful feeling to kind of be creative for once in a while. Anyway, it's something which any builder out there would probably be familiar with is the technique of variation. So if you have, for example, a wall, in this case it's stone brick, so it's not particularly interesting. You know, no one's going to walk up to this wall and go, "Ah, that's nice." It just doesn't happen because it is only one material. It's really, it's repetitive, it's boring. So what you could do is you could come along with blocks of similar textures, similar styles and similar colours and things like this. So you might go along with kind of different patterns and stuff like that. Really kind of break it up with different materials, like so. It improves it tenfold. This is such a better wall than what we had before, and it's not really a difficult technique to do. But as you can imagine, if you're doing this in really big scales, and you're trying to variate something in a really big area, then it can get really tedious, and it can take you ages to finish. So that is why, as a technical player, I decided I would come along and work out a technique to almost fully automate this process using command blocks and structure blocks. This is quite clearly going to be a very different video, so please be patient. I'm probably going to stumble quite a lot. So let's look at how structure blocks work first, shall we? In time for Halloween, I'm going to make a little pumpkin. Let's make a little pumpkin, shall we? So you kind of make it round like this. Look how cute that is. We've got a nice little pumpkin. Alright, and then what we can do is we can save this as a structure. So it's gonna be a little bit like this. Now, what you'll notice I have done is I've chunk aligned this structure. You really you don't have to do it, but for kind of demonstration purposes, I find that it's much easier to control because I've got these lines on the ground that can help me. Alright, so I'm going to save this as a structure, so you might call it pumpkin, and you obviously make sure that the size is accurate. This offset you don't really need to worry about because you can sort of make do with the default offset of -1y. Then you save it, and what you're then able to do is go anywhere you like in the world, place a structure block, change it to load mode, type in pumpkin again, which you can see will then default to the same size, and then press the load button. Now, as you can see, we've got a pumpkin in the world. It's it's a much cleaner substitute for the clone command because you can see every step of the way. It's really visual, it's really helpful, and I generally much prefer it over using the clone command, which I find can be a little bit confusing sometimes. So we'll get rid of these pumpkins for now. We don't need them. But having got that out of the way, I think I'm ready to show you how to variate structures with structure blocks. Okay, we're ready to move on to how to variate structures with structure blocks, and we're going to use a very simple palette just to demonstrate. I know I'm using building words. So we're going to use stone bricks and cobblestone, which, as you know, they work really nicely together, honestly, as kind of a rough wall that you don't want to be too mossy, I guess, because obviously if you're making stone bricks, then your instinct would be to include some mossy stone brick. If you don't want that, then these are some really good blocks to use. Alright, so what we're going to do is I'm going to make a wall. I'm going to just make a wall like this, made of stone, and we'll bring this to 5 blocks tall, like this. Actually, no, I'll do 6, just to demonstrate how simple and quick and easy this is. So if you were to go along and variate this wall as it is, this example in and of itself wouldn't take too long to do, but it would still be quite tedious, because I'll admit, variating stuff takes quite a lot of work, trying to figure out, where do I want the blocks to be in relation to each other, the clusters of similar types of blocks, how big do I want the cobblestone clusters and things like that. It can get a little bit tiring. So what I'll do is I'll save this as another structure. So I'll just specify the height like this, and as you can see, that completely matches. You want to make sure that your bounding box, which is the name given to these lines here, completely encases this structure. So if, for example, I've got a Y of 5, then that's not going to reach the same height, so you have to do some extra bits, trying to add bits onto the top to to make it up. Try not to do that. Try to encase it. We'll call that structure wall, and we'll save it. And then I'll go into, I could go anywhere else in the world, and I could paste it in. But this time, we're going to scroll down a bit, because I'm sure you noticed in the load structure block, there are quite a lot of options in here. There isn't just the field where you give it the name and the load button. There's include entities, which specifies whether the entities that were in this structure at the time that you saved it will load in. We've got remove blocks, so if you wanted a structure that was just an entity, for example, then you could select remove blocks, and it means that it wouldn't override any blocks that were in the bounding box. It's got a few other things as well, like rotation, which is fairly self-explanatory, mirror as well, animation. I'll let you figure that out on your own because it's really fun. I'm interested in this value here, called integrity. Now, by default, this is set at 100, and as you may be able to figure out, that is a percentage, which basically dictates how many blocks in your structure will load in. And this is a pseudo-random algorithm. So if we change the integrity, if we lower it a little bit to say 50, then only half of the blocks in this structure will actually be pasted in. And you can see, if we load it in, how there are only about half the blocks. And this is a really positive start to making variation fully automatic, because what you're then able to do is, we'll remove the structure block in a minute, and we'll use a fill replace command. Okay, so just like that, I used a quick fill replace command to fill all of the air blocks that were missing in with a different block in our palette, which is in my hotbar here, in case you've forgotten. And you can see how this is completely randomized. And this is something that could have taken us quite a long time. If you imagine this on a much bigger scale, right? So we've currently got a 4x4 chunk platform here that I'm working on. If you can imagine that this whole thing was, say, I wanted to mix in dirt and coarse dirt, then that would take ages. That would take hours and hours and hours to do. But using this really simple method, you can make it take no more than a few minutes. It doesn't stop here, because we still have one block left in our palette. So what I'll do is I'll save this as another structure, and actually we can override this as wall now. It doesn't really matter, because I've finished with this one. If we then paste this one in with a slightly lower integrity value, so the first time we did it we put in 50%, but this time I'll do 75% because I want a few more blocks than we did we did before. So there you go. Now we've got 3/4 of the blocks in there, and we can fill the rest of it in with cobblestone, which I'll just do now. It won't take a minute. There we go. We filled in the air blocks with cobblestone, and it looks really, really good. It looks absolutely amazing. Now, obviously, the structure block method cannot account for human intent. So if you wanted to make any changes, for example, I might go, oh, this cobblestone block is a bit too big, so I might just break it up with some other blocks like that. There's nothing stopping you from editing it after it's been pasted into the world. So just take note of that. If you want to make some changes, definitely do, because this is your build after all. You can make it look however you want. So this gets a little bit more complicated when you're working with structures that aren't just a rectangle or a square or a cube or a cuboid. And I also came up with a method to really quickly fill in irregular areas with a particular block, and I'll demonstrate that to you now. So for example, rather than just having, for example, a square tower that goes all the way up, I might want something that is a little bit rounder. So I might do something like this, and I'm not sure. Yeah, all right, we're going to have to squeeze this up a little bit. That's all right. So I could do this as a circle. I'll leave some links in the description if you want to be able to generate circles yourself. But what you can do, and this is again a technique which I don't see many people using, is you can use water, because water is a space filler. So you can just plop water in the middle there. If it's slightly bigger, you might have to kind of spam it around a little bit. And then you can use another fill replace command, similar to the one you saw earlier on, to fill all of the water in with the block of your choice. So I'm going to do this as well. Stone brick 0 replace water. And you can see how that fills the middle of this circle in with water. So from this point forth, you've got one layer of your shape. So you can just use the structure blocks again. You see where I'm going with this? You can use the structure blocks again to simply take that circle and copy it over and over again. Right, I think that's all I wanted to cover in this video. This is a really cool concept, and I really hope you've learned something here that you didn't know before. Being able to generate walls like this with structure blocks, and that's all I've got time for today. But before I will go, there is something I wanted to speak to you very quickly about. You see, Void's Tweaks is a website that I've been managing for a year now, and that is really that's really what I was talking about, because it is coming up really close to the first anniversary of this website, which is similar to Vanilla Tweaks, right? So you have like a compilation of packs that you're able to download and apply onto your worlds. It's coming up to the first anniversary soon, so I was racking my brain thinking, right, what could I do to celebrate? And what I came up with was the idea that I make a pack that has none of my own textures, only textures made by you. So I'm opening this up to you. In the description below, you'll be able to find a zip file of the cake textures. So what I want you to do is download the cake textures yourself, go into whatever texture editor you like, and I'll link some recommendations down below. I personally use Paint 3D, which is a default app on Windows 10, but you can also use Paint.net or GIMP or whatever you fancy, really, and just make your rendition of the cake texture. It doesn't have to be particularly overboard. You don't have to be an experienced or avid texture designer. Um, just change it up a little bit, and then send it my way on Discord via Void Redstone tag 3664. And what I'll do is I'll take all of your entries that you all submit, and I'll put it into one pack, which will variate the cake texture depending on where it is in the world. So you'll be able to see all of your textures in one place. I just think that's a really lovely idea. So let me know your thoughts, and make sure to go off and design your cake textures. All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. I got a few really interesting things lined up that I want to show you, so please stick around for that, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good.